Today you can ask Jake, I was up till like 3 last night. I am so pumped for Jake Laney to come today and speak to you all. I know he's got a word for you all today, and I hope and pray that it will fall on good ground and that you all are blessed by it. So, without further ado, I shall introduce Jacob Laney.
Yeah! I'm excited, y'all. Ooh, I think he's gonna bring something good today, because there was a lot of things trying to stop me. Let me tell you, it was a downpour when I got here. I was soaked, I was drenched. Took me 20 minutes to do my hair, put this mousse in it, blow dry it, gel it, whatever. Took 20 seconds for the rain to mess it all up. So, I think the devil's just trying to get to me. I wanted to speak about my devotional today on prayer. Now this book, y'all have to get it. I'm just going to say that. I got it because I was struggling in my prayer life. And I thought, I don't have time to read. I got to do all this. I have to read the Bible, I guess, because that's like a rule or whatever. And so I don't think I had time to read a book. God really laid it on my heart when I was sorting through, trying to find a message for my youth group, that I really needed to start reading it. And because it had been a while since I talked to him. And I had known that it had been a while, and I knew that I had to pray. Because every time I've been in a slump, and I've tried to get out, and I've been like, God, take me back. And he does. And then I just feel kind of bad about it. That I don't put in that time, and I hear about all these people talking about this experience that they have in prayer, and that they just have to get to this presence. And I'm like, I don't feel that. I feel like, I know God's there, but it's like I can't really feel it, And I'm searching for that emotion, and I thought, oh, maybe that's wrong. Prayer isn't emotional. It's about like this formal God and how you should pray for such things and have good words and strong words, and they should be powerful and yada yada yada. But I couldn't do much of that either. So I didn't really know how to start praying again. I didn't know how to make it good enough for God. I didn't know how to start praying good enough. So I started to read this book on prayer because I thought, hey, maybe that'll help. And it did, a whole lot. And one of the most shocking sentences that I read in this book by Tim Keller was, he says, and I quote, "I just didn't get prayer." And he said he wasn't alone. He said that there was a lot of authors and a lot of biblical scholars that admitted they just couldn't get prayer. And if you feel that same way, if you feel like, whatever you do is for naught, and you can't like have that relationship with God, and you feel bad because these other people are having this like some kind of relationship with God, and you just don't feel that. Don't feel bad about it. That's common. That's the norm for a lot of people. It's important to pray. Very important. But you shouldn't beat yourself up about it so bad that you don't want to, because that's just going to be a repetitive cycle that the devil keeps you in. There are two types of prayers. There's a communion-centered prayer and a kingdom-centered prayer. And I found out that there's a lot of authors that believe in the communion-centered prayer, and that a kingdom-centered prayer is less than, and vice versa. The communion-centered prayer is like the experience that I was talking about earlier, about feeling that emotion, feeling that presence, the adoration of God. You just have to be real with Him, be authentic, and you just have to develop that emotion. There's the other side of the kingdom-centered prayer, and the kingdom-centered is asking God to bring His kingdom to earth. So it's asking for some sort of fruit, some sort of spiritual product to us that are, empty and corrupt and damaged. It's asking for that exchange. Both of these types of prayer are codependent. They can't exist without the other. Our purpose is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. And that comes from a quote of the Westminster Shorter Catechism. totally sure that I pronounced that wrong. But it's a real quote. And we are called to glorify God with the kingdom-centered prayer and to enjoy Him forever with the emotional-centered prayer, the communion. God, as a Father, He sees us when we struggle, and He knows our every emotion. So if we try to cover that up, and we're not real with Him, that's gonna cause a wedge in the relationship. Like me and Curtis are great friends. If I was withholding information that Curtis knew for a fact was true, that'd cause a wedge between us. Even if it was something that I was upset with Curtis about, the fact that Curtis knew I couldn't talk to him about it, I think that hurt. And I think God feels the very same. Because He's our Father, He's the one that created us. And if we don't have that relationship with Him, if we can't be honest and we can't be open, and He sees what we're truly feeling, I think He feels a little hurt. We may pray for the coming of God's kingdom, but if we don't enjoy God supremely, with all of our being, we are not truly honoring Him as Lord. If we don't establish that relationship with Him, then how could we ask such mightily things of Him? If we don't establish that relationship with Him, it's not right to declare of Him such mighty things to come down here. Because of our lack of putting in the sacrifice to get to know Him. Imagine that you have been diagnosed with a lethal disease, and that you would die within hours if you didn't take this one pill every night. You wouldn't miss that dose. It would bring such an importance and severity that you wouldn't forget. You wouldn't think, oh, I'll get to it later. You would be like, okay, this set time, I'm dedicated to doing this. I'm dedicated to taking this pill because it's important to my life. It's important in prayer in the same way, because there's a lot of people dealing with very, very lethal conditions. People that we do know personally and people that we don't. All across the world, all across the nation, all across our community and our family and us. We have a lethal condition called sin. And if we don't ask of repentance for that, it can destroy you and ultimately lead you to death. So that's the importance of prayer. That's the severity of prayer. And that should bring our necessity to doing so. If the greatest things were easy to do, everybody would do it. But since they're hard, only a number can. So prayer is a very, very hard thing to do. It's very hard to just be like, okay, today is a mess and I have a billion things going on. I'm about to get married and school's coming up. I gotta register. I gotta get my books. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna make the time to do all that. I was like, I don't have time to pray. I don't have time to read. Maybe when everything settles down, then I can. But when you're so stressed out and you feel like you don't have that time, but you make that time, that's when it's sacrificial. That's when it means the most. One thing that we taught our merge kids, Nikki Keene taught our merge kids, that actually helps me. It's helped me to pray because I was unsure of how to start, I guess. She talked about the 5-finger prayer. She said you start with your pinky, which represents the world. You want to pray for the world and all the corrupt things that are happening across the planet. And then when you're done praying for the world, move on to your ring finger, which is your nation, the country that we live in. The middle finger is for your community. That's when you want to pray for your friends, your church family. So after your community, you pray for your family. Struggles internally and externally going on in your family. Hurt and brokenness and sickness. And then lastly, your thumb, which points right back at you. How can you expect to help others when you're a mess yourself? So it's important to strengthen your own faith, to strengthen your own well-being so that you are able to carry out the purposes that God has for you. You have 5 things. You have the world, the nation, the community, your family, and you. So I pray that you are blessed with this gift of prayer. Have a blessed day.
Thank you all so much for staying tuned to this devotional. While Jake was talking about the things on your fingers, the world, your nation, your community, your family, and you, I thought of looking outside my window. If I look outside on my porch, I can see the mountains in Tazewell. And the mountains are big. And it's kind of like when you look at the world. The world's big, and the problems of the world are big. You look at your nation, your community. You know, it's kind of like you look out my door and then you see a tree. You know, a tree is even bigger, taller than, let's say, a house. You know, we've got some pretty big trees around here, and then you got a house, which is even smaller, which could be the levels as you're going down. And then I look right now and I see my door, and I see that my door is bigger than the house, and the house is bigger than the tree, and the tree is bigger than the mountain. It gets smaller and smaller, but really the smallest thing is the door, but it looks the biggest because it's close to me. The mountains are really the biggest thing, but they are farther away and they look smaller. So in a way, we view those things like, well, God can handle that because it's small. But the things that are close to us, we think, oh, I don't know. But if you look at it, the door is the smallest thing. The door is smaller than the house, which is smaller than the big oak tree or the big pine tree, which is smaller than the mountains. I was just sitting there and thinking about that while Jake was, it's like, that just came to me so clearly. So I wanted to share that with you guys too. So thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to share this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and but God bless.